Howdy, folks. I suppose I had to break character a little bit. Here at the Starbucks, the people who were here, they're great. They treat me great. Uh, one of the ladies, when she came out, her arms were full, and of course, I asked her to order to her vehicle, and she probably would have let me talk to her for 20 to 30 minutes if I'd have wanted to, but I figured she ought to be allowed to go about her life, and of course, I didn't offer to help her for her to listen to me for an hour. I noticed she was about to drop her stuff. So, when you're trying to be a gentleman like that, you don't make it about you, you make it about the service, and then you make it about leaving. Um, Nearly everybody here, when I was growing up, moving around from one foster home to another, one group home to another, you're moving all the time. You either make friends or you get your ass kicked. There's really not much in between. If people decide that you're not the most fun person at the group home, or the second most fun person at the group home, you're probably going to have to deal with a lot of fucking bullshit. All right, so I guess what we're going to do, because it says it's going to take, it says it's only going to take 5 more minutes for this to work. So, or for the video that I'm making to download. So, it might actually get finished while I'm making this one, in which case I don't know what it will do. The reason I called this Dr. Caroline and Working While I Wait is because my live streams, they don't necessarily record everything, so I have to record it and then download it. On a live stream, that's the best thing for me to do if it's working fine, because I can go through, find what I need to find as far as my references and information that I speak about in the video, and I can pull it up and link it in the chat. But when I do it the other way, I can't do that. So I suppose I had to start off with two of my therapists. And as a result of that, we need to go to my channel. All right. Looks like I have two videos that are still trying to download, and I don't understand why there's two of them. There's only one that I should be trying to download. We'll go to Caravan. It's Caravan Counseling, and that's the wingnut lady. Let's see, copy link address. So we'll post that over there. This is one of the wingnuts. This lady was supposed to be a therapist. Once you listen to her, you could also just avoid it and read the comments, but it's a lot more interesting and a lot more funny to listen to the lady talk. She starts off all Valley Girl, and then she says a lot of stuff like, I'm powerful. It's cute. Let's see. The next one, of course, is Marcia Estrada. Let's see. Right click, copy link address. This one is called More Proof That I Tell the Truth with Marcia Estrada. There's quite a few conversations with her, actually. Marcia Estrada, LIMHP, talking about Cindy Taylor, Jen Beebe, Tamara, and DaCosta. So we'll put that one up right after we post this one. Those of you who are looking in the general chat at the bottom, I'm typing this in the live chat as I'm making the live stream. So if you come on after the live stream is over and you're looking in the general chat area, you're not going to find it. You have to turn on the live chat stream so that you can see what was typed while it was being spoken or whatever. All right. Next, we're going to go to copy link address. This one's about Marcia Estrada. One of the biggest issues that I had was that there's organizations that are supposed to help autistic people and disabled people and help them to do these things. And none of these places actually ever did any of these things. None of them helped me. None of them helped me with my court stuff. None of them went in with me to court. None of them helped me to prepare. All of them blew me off because they're writing it for a paycheck. Now, Dr. Caroline might understand that. She might not. She might disagree with it. But the fact is, this is exactly what these people are doing. Nebraska law, well, it's not followed by the law, but you are expected to follow it. But that also depends on who you are. A lot of people want to pretend that we live in a perfect world where the laws are obeyed by everyone and we live in this pristine utopian society, and we absolutely do not. Your concepts are great. They're wonderful concepts, but in reality, they don't work. In reality, you need to drop down off of your fucking soapbox and look at individual cases instead of generalizing. Instead of generalizing all mentally ill, generalizing all disabled, generalizing all black people or all white people. We need to stop that. Now, a lot of y'all are like, well, you're being a hypocrite, Sean. You talk about black people and white people all the time. You're damn right I do. When I get that hatred, especially pointed directly at me, I'm going to address it. If it is a race issue, then I am going to address the race issue. If it is a gender issue, I am going to address the gender issue. If you want to type about how horrible men are, I am going to give you the counterpoint of it because it's not okay. The way that men are treated in this country, the way that men are blamed for everything in a woman's life. I mean, literally, we have taught the American woman that it is okay for her to be a vindictive and violent narcissist. Thank goodness not all women in this country are like that. Kind of like the situation with me. My parents are both racist. They're both cokeheads. Now, I could choose to be a racist. I could choose to get all fucked up on cocaine. Hell, if I'd have done cocaine in high school, me and my mom would have gotten along a lot better. But I don't have to. See, what we've got is called indoctrination. And a lot of people want to pretend that doesn't actually exist in America. That could not possibly exist in our utopian society. Now, there's another thing that I brought up, which is the gross over-medication of people in the foster care system. You know what? I'm not actually going to do that. I'm going to look up some conversations with my sister. Let's see. Copy link address. Now, like I said, conceptually, Dr. Caroline is right. But we don't live in a concept. We live in the real world. And just because your idea of how it's supposed to work, or your assumption that it works the way that you're told it works, the reality of the situation is very different. And if you want to be closed-minded and stuck in your head that way, you're the problem. You're not part of the problem. You are the problem. And everyone like you, not part of it. That is literally the problem itself with all of this. My sister being followed by the cops and threatened. Let's see, here's another one. Copy link address. This is about the situation with my sister. Now, of course, my sister was probably about the biggest liar I knew growing up. And Dr. Caroline, in that last thing, she does talk about people who are habitual liars. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I was called a liar for saying that I proved was the truth. I was never allowed to prove it in court. The news media doesn't give a shit, but my predators sure do. While my supposed friends, these people who supposedly love me, have blown me off for 5 years, including Morgan. And I'm going to read what he typed because it has been 5 years. He typed, actually, I was at work last night doing my fucking job, bro. I typed, don't know what that has to do with what I typed, but I just woke up. Didn't get to sleep until 6 a.m. It's 10:30 here now. He typed, because for some reason you seem to think I blew you off, when in reality you were going through all of that shit. I was homeless as fuck as well, living up in Ned, or have you forgotten that? Actually, he wasn't homeless and living in Ned when that happened, but not soon after he was. However, that was 5 years ago. What's happened since then? See, I have been homeless too, and being homeless has not stopped me from speaking up. Being homeless does not stop you from speaking. Any excuse that you make for not speaking when your mouth works and your vocal cords works is exactly that. It's an excuse. 5 years. In the last 5 years, do you think he could have actually stopped and taken the time? If he actually cared about me, he would, wouldn't he? If he actually cared about me, he would stop. At some point, he would find a time that he could stop and hear what's going on, find out what's going on, and possibly do something about it. And this right here is a lot of the stuff that when people don't want to pay attention to it, they're too busy. They're too busy with drugs. They're too busy with survival. They're too busy with whatever it is they're too busy with. They always type shit like this right here. He types, they proved it wasn't you that killed her, so now it shouldn't matter what people think. If people think bad about you, then find new people. That is dismissive as fuck. And that's one of the things that with Dr. Caroline, I 100% disagree with. If people think bad about you, no. People were doing bad things to me. And find new people. Find new people. I got people at Starbucks here. I mean, we're not real friends, but they're glad to see me. I'm glad to see them. We smile when we see each other. They laugh at my stupid jokes. Some of them even tell me, well, pretty much every Starbucks I go to, people tell me this. They're glad to see me. They're glad I'm there. I make their day better. But you guys don't know that. You're not there for it. You don't get to see it, therefore it didn't happen. Now with this guy, Morgan McNeese is his name. He says they proved it wasn't you that killed her, so now it shouldn't matter what people think. See, that completely negates and eliminates for him everything. He obviously didn't take the time to find out about any of the abuse that I've been through in the last 5 years over the situation with Natalie. It doesn't matter that I didn't kill her. It doesn't matter to these people. These people are predators. Some of them were Natalie's predators. These people worked together. They worked together to destroy my life. And my friends are these are my friends, people. These are my supposed friends typing this shit. You should mind your own business, shouldn't you? That's something that Dr. Caroline pushes a lot. No, you shouldn't. If people just minded their business, Dr. Caroline would still be a slave. She's obviously not a slave. She's a doctor, but she's also a black woman. If people had minded their own business and just let them Southerners own black people, see where conceptually, sure, but in reality, fuck no. If people think bad about you, then find new people. That completely ignores the actual reality of how important other people are to us. How we cannot get away from other people. You conceptually can. Like your concept that, if a homeless person just goes up in the mountains and sets up a tent, then they're going to get left alone for the rest of their life. Well, they still got to eat. There aren't a lot of resources up there. And no, the forest rangers aren't going to let you just park there for the rest of your life. Are you fucking kidding me? Sure, great idea in your head, but you didn't bother with anything beyond the concept. You want to spout ideas that you know nothing about. You know nothing about the laws as far as state forests or federal forest land. You don't know about the state park rules or the federal park rules. And you don't understand what it's like to be homeless or how differently you are treated by society. I hear a lot of people who are black complaining about things that happened to them once. Now, sure, back in the 70s and prior to that, those things happened all the time. Those things happened all the time to black people back then. But today, those things happen all the time to the homeless. People care about black people. Nobody cares about the homeless until they're homeless. And by then, of course, it's too late. So Morgan, of course, all of the abuse that I've taken at the hands of law enforcement for the last 5 years, the abuse that I've taken at the hands of the general public for the last 5 years, the abuse that I've taken at the hands of the courts in the last 5 years, but all he gave a shit about was that one part. Meanwhile, all of this abuse is over Natalie Bollinger and Maddie Boa and Alicia Bollinger. All of these things that all of these other people have done to harm me is all over a situation I was never allowed to show evidence or defend myself against because of the term mentally ill, which is something that Dr. Caroline does need to address in order for me to take anything she says seriously. Because really, the way that she spoke about it does make it seem as if she's trying to relegate this to mythology. Like, oh, this doesn't happen in reality. That's a myth. Doctors don't really abuse their power. Cops don't really abuse their power. The public doesn't actually go after people over slander. Nobody is ever assaulted when people pretend that they're some sort of a rapist or child molester. This is all some figment of my imagination. Now, obviously, she didn't push hard to present it in that kind of a fashion or that kind of a way, but very much it did come out that way. It came out as a very dismissive thing. And of course, by the time she got down to the parts where I was actually able to address it, it's 5 minutes later, and she does read it, and she starts to understand the concept. But the thing is, it's still just a concept. Between my words and my evidence makes more sense. See, if I tell you about my hospital paperwork from Chesapeake, Virginia, you can say, oh, well, how do we know you're not lying? But, of course, I've posted that up, haven't I? I've posted up my hospital paperwork from Chesapeake, Virginia on multiple occasions on my channel. And it says the things I said it did, which is completely the opposite from the story that was told by my predators. Yes, Natalie Marie Bollinger was my predator. She outright lied repeatedly. She didn't want to get in trouble, so she told what's just a little white lie. But look at this. Look at this mess. Now, this isn't Dr. Caroline's fault. I mean, hell, she literally spent her entire, she does this about once a week. And she spent her entire session and even went over the amount of time that she had planned on going to address my issues the whole time, or nearly the whole time. And obviously not literally my issues. You know, she was responding to things that I was saying, but she was responding conceptually in general terms and in terms of if we lived in a perfect world. See, that's the part that I felt that if I typed that, she would take it as an insult. And although it's not meant as an insult, many people do take that as an insult. A lot of people, when I was trying to get help from them, I would tell them what people are doing to me. And then these people that I'm trying to ask for help are pretending that I'm claiming they did those things. I never did that to you, Sean. Holy shit. Are you seriously that stupid? Have you done that many drugs? Have you been beaten about your head that severely? Do you have that little self-esteem that anytime somebody tells you about a problem, you assume that they're blaming you? A lot of the situations that happened, like with Brenda Dickinson, for example, what a fucking piece of shit that woman turned out to be. After telling me she thought of me as a son and all this other so on and so forth. And of course, the reality of the situation is she's just a coward like everyone else. When I was having issues with Brenda Dickinson, and of course it's all in typing, she's not talking to me, she's just typing it. So then she's taken a bunch of stuff wrong, and that is a really cool canoe. All right. It is a cool canoe. But with Brenda, when I was explaining how these things affected me, that's the thing, the first rule, right? When you're supposed to try to get something done about bullies or, just problem resolution. You go to the source of the problem. You go to where this stuff is happening. You talk to that person. You try to get it done and squashed right then and there. Now, obviously, with Natalie Bollinger, there wasn't going to be anything squashed between her and I because she was embarrassed and enlisted a bunch of junkies to harm me. But with Brenda Dickinson, it was a different scenario. She didn't enlist a bunch of people to harm me. It's not like she went out there and slandered the shit out of my name to everyone in Chapel, Nebraska to try to get people in Chapel, Nebraska to harm me like Natalie Bollinger had done. It's not like she went out of her way to claim that I had done things to somebody that obviously I hadn't done those things to. But the thing is that when I told Brenda, and I had to do it in texting because she couldn't call. See, that's the thing. A lot of people, when they're manipulating or they don't want to get busted or so on and so forth, they'll just type it because then it's not their fault that you interpreted it wrong, but it is your fault that they interpreted what you typed wrong. And it's a very fucked up situation. And I was trying to explain to her how the things that she did and the choices that she made affected me. How it affected my situation, how it resulted in further abuse. Now, rather than taking it to heart and understanding how her decisions do affect those in her life, do affect those around her, she wanted to do the don't blame me thing. Well, I'm not blaming you for the actions of others. I'm blaming you for your actions. I'm telling you the consequences for me because of your actions, which do include other people harming me. Kind of like when Natalie Bollinger wanted to claim that I stalked her. I didn't. She asked me to go to Virginia. I left to get away from her. And then, of course, there's Maddie Boa, who wanted to spread rumors of all sorts. Things that were not true, things that Natalie Bollinger never said, Alicia Bollinger never said, or even made any sort of claims or hints to. But yet those are the things that I'm being abused over. I'm being abused over Maddie Boa's lies. Maddie Boa in specific. But at the same time, what is Maddie Boa's motivation for doing the horrible things she did? Well, she's a lesbian who had a crush on a set of twins and she wanted the sex. Anyway, I'm going to end this video now that the other video is finished. And I suppose I will post both of these to Dr. Caroline's site thing because I said I would. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that, for the most part, it might sound like I'm saying she's a horrible person and I disagree with everything she says and so on and so forth. But really, I wanted to address the things that, well, obviously, we weren't talking to each other in real time. She was having to read through the comments until she got to, where a particular comment was made, and it might be 5 or 10 minutes later after she started. It might be 5 or 10 minutes after the comment that she had originally made that I'm answering. It might be 5 or 10 minutes before she finally gets to that. And there's a lot of stuff that conceptually that she was saying that doesn't fit with my situation. And that's what I was trying to get across to her. I mean, obviously, I'm not an idiot. When it comes to the things that I've had to do for my own protection and for the protection of my loved ones, yeah, I'm actually thankful that Dr. Caroline does not have to go through that. I'm thankful that these people are not in this situation. But that does not detract from the fact that I am. I absolutely am. I've been denied my rights across the board. Now, she says all this stuff about hospitals when I try to explain the situation where the cops I was trying to turn in took me to the hospital, told the hospital that I was schizophrenic, and the hospital wrote it down. Now, she says that a doctor is not going to diagnose. I didn't say I was diagnosed by a doctor. At no point in time did I tell her that I was diagnosed as schizophrenic by a doctor, because I wasn't. When she goes off on that whole thing, sure, in concept, that's the way it should work, but we don't live in a should world, do we? Those shoulds are not realities. Sure, people should be nice to each other, but that's not our reality. Some people are nice. Conceptually, people should not kill each other, but they do. Conceptually, people should not rape each other, but they do. Conceptually, you shouldn't care what other people think. In reality, what other people think will get you killed. It will get others killed. There's nothing you can do to stop that. But individually, you can. Individually, you have to fight individual cases in order to change the law, in order to create case law. Now, we've already screwed up. When the Civil War ended, we allowed a lot of laws to be passed because they were being used specifically for victimizing black folks after the Civil War, of course. And those are on paper. And most of those laws still exist to this day. They're anti-homeless laws because the 13th Amendment allows anyone convicted of a crime to be used as slave labor. That's right. The very amendment that ended slave labor made 4 million former slaves homeless. And then homeless becomes illegal. You've got 4 million criminals just because they're black. I'm not going to buy into this bullshit that because it's illegal, it's wrong. Oh, hell no. It's illegal to set a slave free back then, now wasn't it? Now we've got laws that are different now. So somehow magically we must be more advanced. No, we have made it so that only the rich have any rights whatsoever. The closest that most of you will ever get to having constitutional rights is because you can still own a gun. But if you stand up to the government, they'll take it anyway. So it doesn't matter. Admiral Yamamoto once said that America cannot be invaded because if America was invaded, there would be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Whether or not he actually said this is debatable. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but it's a good point. My predators have guns, whether they're allowed to have them or not. Ted Bollinger didn't care that he was a multiple-time felon when he got busted with an illegal firearm. He didn't. Now, by law, he's supposed to go to prison for the rest of his life. He's already had his strikes. When I was in prison, and mind you, I wasn't convicted of anything. I wasn't even charged with felonies. And some of y'all are automatically going to assume that I'm full of shit and lying because you can't go to prison if you're not convicted of a felony. Yes, you can. Nebraska state law, you should look up something called county safekeep. I'm going to type that in here on the side for you. All right. I could go on for days and days and days and days. Y'all already know this. Now, I'm sorry I broke character a little bit in the beginning. I realized that if I laugh or smile or anything of that nature, people don't take it seriously. They think it's a joke. Natalie Bollinger's dead. There's nothing funny about it. Janine Barrett is dead. There's nothing funny about it. Brian Gray is dead. There's nothing funny about it. Quake Cox is dead. There's nothing funny about that. Brian Gray, he's dead. Nothing funny about that. Stephen McMillian is dead. Nothing funny about that. Christine Buhit, she's dead. Nothing funny about that. Ain't nothing funny about any of this.